In the summer of 1983, the world beyond Hollow Creek moved on quietly, but for the people of that small Kansas valley, the nights had begun to change. The air no longer settled after dusk. Instead, it hummed, a faint, electric vibration that made the cows restless and drew the dogs to the edges of the fields, growling at nothing. Earl Whitman was a farmer like his father before him. 43 years old, broad-shouldered, worn hands, and eyes hardened by weather and time. His farm stretched across 60 acres of wheat and corn bordered by pine woods that whispered even when the wind was still. On the night of August 14th, Earl woke to a sound he couldn't name, a pulsing, low frequency, like an old tractor engine muffled underwater. He stepped outside with his camcorder, a bulky Panasonic model that had cost him half a harvest to buy. He used it mostly to film storms or deer grazing by the creek, but this night, the machine would capture something else entirely. The sky above the eastern ridge flickered. Not lightning, not stars, something between them. 3 points of blue-white light moved in perfect formation, gliding silently. Then they stopped. The silence deepened until even the crickets fell quiet. Earl adjusted the focus and caught them clearly on tape, 3 glowing shapes hovering just above the tree line. The lights shifted color from blue to red to an eerie shade of green that seemed to pulse in time with his heartbeat. For a moment, they descended lower, close enough that the wheat tops bent as if pressed by invisible wind. Earl felt it in his bones before he saw it, a vibration that rattled his teeth and made the metal of the camcorder hum. Then, the central light expanded, and for one blinding instant, the field turned to day. Earl stumbled, the camcorder shaking. When the light dimmed, something massive hovered there, metallic but not like any metal he'd seen, its surface alive with rippling light. He recorded until the battery died. By morning, there was no trace of anything in the field, no burns, no marks, just silence and flattened wheat where the light had touched. He told no one at first. Not his wife, not his neighbors. He only rewound the tape again and again, watching those lights dance over his land as if deciding what to take. By the end of the week, Earl wasn't sleeping. The humming had returned, deeper now, closer. He began to notice shapes near the woods, tall, thin figures that vanished when he tried to focus on them. And when he played the tape again on the 7th night, something new appeared at the edge of the frame. A reflection. Eyes, 2 of them, watching from the darkness, glinting back the light of the stars. For days after the encounter, Earl Whitman's fields looked untouched, yet something in the air felt heavier. The animals refused to graze near the far end of the corn rows. The creek water, once clear, shimmered faintly at night like a film of oil-catching moonlight. Earl's wife said it was his imagination, but Earl knew the hum hadn't stopped. It was in the walls now, faint but constant, a pulse just below hearing. He kept the camera locked in his tool shed. Every evening, he would return to that grainy tape, staring at the flickering lights dancing over the horizon. He slowed it frame by frame, studying the moment before the flash, and then he saw it again. Not a trick of light, not dust on the lens, but movement. A tall, narrow figure standing among the trees, arms too long, head too smooth. For a fraction of a second, it turned toward the camera, and the reflection of its eyes caught the light like 2 tiny mirrors. The days grew colder, though summer was far from over. The wheat stalks drooped. At night, Earl could see small orbs moving through the woods, pale blue glows drifting in silence. Once, he saw 3 of them form a triangle, the same pattern as the lights in his footage. The same hum filled the ground. The same pressure built in his chest. He took the tape to a friend in town, a man who had once worked with local TV equipment. They tried to copy it, but the machines failed every time. The moment the lights appeared on the screen, static filled the room and the power cut out. When they rewound it, the tape still worked, but none of the recording could be duplicated. As if the footage didn't want to be copied. That night, Earl returned home to find the shed door open. Inside, everything had been moved, the shelves, the tools, the feed bags, but nothing was stolen. Only the camcorder had been placed differently, neatly centered on the workbench, lens pointed toward the door, as though waiting for him. He pressed play. The tape no longer showed the lights. The screen flickered with static, then shapes began to emerge, fields seen from above and his farmhouse in the distance. The footage was new. Impossible. It showed his property from an angle no human could have filmed. He could even see himself standing outside the shed, frozen, staring at the sky. Then the camera tilted, the image blurred, and something vast and circular moved into frame, a metallic curve reflecting stars that didn't belong to Earth. The screen went black. Then 2 points of light appeared, pulsing slowly, rhythmically. Eyes again. Closer this time. Watching. By dawn, Earl had buried the camcorder behind the barn. But no matter how deep he dug, the hum returned stronger every night, vibrating through the ground, the walls, the air, until it seemed to be inside him. And far above Hollow Creek, where the sky turned violet just before dawn, a faint flash of green light marked the beginning of something else. By September, the wheat fields stood still and lifeless, their golden color drained to ash. Nothing grew anymore. Birds stopped nesting in the trees near Earl's property, and even the sound of insects, the ever-present chorus of Kansas summer, had vanished. The world around the Whitman farm had fallen silent, like the calm before a storm that never came. Earl had stopped leaving the house. His wife had taken their son to her sister's 2 towns over, saying she couldn't bear the quiet anymore. That night she left, the lights returned. Not in the sky this time, but on the ground. Small, perfect spheres of light hovered above the wheat, moving in slow, deliberate circles. Earl watched from his porch, breath shallow, fingers gripping the railing. The hum had grown deeper, so deep it seemed to vibrate through his bones. Every light pulsed in time with it, as if the whole field were breathing. Then the circles began to align. From his vantage point, he saw them forming symbols, patterns so precise they couldn't be random. The camcorder lay buried, but Earl no longer needed it. He didn't need proof. The air itself had become witness. The lights rose as one, and with them came a sound that wasn't quite thunder, but wasn't mechanical either. A vast presence unfolded above the trees. Through the haze of starlight and dust, the ship appeared, not a classic flying saucer, not metallic and cold, but something organic. It shifted shape, fluid and alive, surface pulsing with color and texture like a living skin. The light it cast was not blinding, it was soft, almost gentle, painting the wheat silver white. Then came the figures. 3 of them. The same tall beings from the footage, moving with impossible grace, their limbs too long, their steps leaving no prints in the soil. Their faces were smooth, expressionless, eyes faintly luminous. They stopped at the edge of his porch and raised their heads as if listening to something only they could hear. The humming ceased. In the silence that followed, Earl felt his heartbeat slow, his body relax. He wasn't afraid anymore. The air grew warm. A faint pressure built behind his eyes, and for a moment, he saw things, flashes, fragments, not of this world. Endless black sky. Oceans of light. The curve of planets unknown to man. And in all of it, one repeating image, himself, standing beneath that same violet sky, camera in hand, recording again. The lights began to fade. The figures turned and walked back toward the ship. As the vessel rose, the wheat lifted too, as though drawn by unseen force, then settled once more. The hum faded into nothing. By dawn, the fields looked normal again. Only a wide circular mark of press stalks remained. The tape was gone, the shed was empty, and Earl was nowhere to be found. Days later, the sheriff found a single note nailed to the porch door. One sentence written in shaking hand. "They showed me what we are not ready to see." And on the last night of summer, a green flash lit the horizon one final time, seen only by the few who were still awake to remember the farmer who filmed the impossible.